so the sooner the better.
What's more, we could find these aliens not on distant planets in unexplored galaxies, but right next door in our own solar system. Scientists are now honing in on proof that ET is out there and living on the most hazardous of worlds. Our safari will journey to 7 destinations in our solar system to see just where these creatures could be and what they might look like. These exotic lands are unimaginably harsh. Life as we think of it would perish in an instant. But alien life may be far tougher than we expect, as we're learning from a surprising group of living things right here on Earth. Until just a few decades ago, we were sure our planet was unique. It is the only one we've found so far that has nurtured the evolution of millions of species. Thanks to its abundant sunshine, warm water, and protective atmosphere. We logically concluded that life needed each of those things, a conclusion that ruled out all other known worlds in our solar system. But then, biologists began combing some of the Earth's darkest and coldest places. And to their surprise, they found living, breathing creatures. Biologists call these organisms extremophiles. Some don't need light or oxygen. Others survive in tremendous atmospheric pressure. It seems life can turn up practically anywhere. Take Antarctica. After years of searching this arid, frozen landscape, scientists doubted they'd find anything alive. But in 1999, a team of explorers unearthed a rock from 6 feet under the ice. What they found amazed them. When they cracked the rock open, they found it teeming with tiny creatures. Here, at temperatures of 68 degrees below zero and 6 feet under solid ice, life had found a foothold.
Biologists have been increasingly discovering life, not kangaroos, but, simpler forms of life that live at very cold temperatures, very high temperatures, very great pressures, even in places where there's sort of a high degree of radiation. It turns out life is able to live in a much wider variety of environments on our own planet than we used to think.
And if life can survive extreme conditions, not just here at home, but elsewhere in our solar system, think of what this could mean.
Unless there's something extraordinarily miraculous about our solar system or our planet, then life has got to be extremely commonplace. I mean, there's got to be large numbers of worlds with life, and some of them would have cooked up intelligent life.
In the beginning, our Earth was as deadly a planet as any. Over the first billion years of Earth's existence, cosmic debris pummeled it mercilessly. The impacts turned its surface into a broiling, seething inferno where life was impossible. But once the solar system settled down and the Earth began to cool, water appeared, setting the stage for life. In 1953, researcher Stanley Miller proved in a lab experiment just how easily life on Earth got its start. He combined water with hydrogen, methane, and ammonia, components of the Earth's early atmosphere. Then he zapped his solution with an electric charge to simulate lightning. His results shocked the world. Miller had created organic molecules called amino acids, the protein building blocks of all living things. If lightning helped jumpstart life on Earth, could it have done the same on other planets? Galactic probes have now found the ingredients in Miller's experiment throughout our solar system, including one essential to life.
One of the requirements that every form of life that we know about on Earth has, every single one, is liquid water. We've used evidence for liquid water to kind of guide our search for habitable environments.
Our safari is headed to 7 worlds, some possibly rich in water, where scientists believe aliens might be hiding. While any life there might have begun much like life on Earth, how it looks now is anyone's guess. We begin in the world that has always fired our imaginations, the planet right next door, Mars. Of all the planets where we've looked for life, it's the one we've studied most. The scientist who may get the first look at Martians, if they're found, is Steve Squires, principal investigator for NASA's Mars rovers.
Mars has always had, among all the planets, I think, a special fascination for humans. For a very long time, we've known enough about Mars to know that it is probably the most Earth-like.
It may be the most like Earth, with an atmosphere and seasons, but we humans would perish quickly on Mars. Its air is thin, 40 times thinner than the air at the top of Mount Everest. And it sits in a bad neighborhood of our solar system, near an asteroid belt. Its atmosphere is too flimsy to protect it. Asteroids continually bombard its surface. Violent winds can whip Mars's sandy soil into storms that consume the entire planet for weeks and spawn tornadoes 8 kilometers high. Midday temperatures at the equator of 1 degree Celsius fall to -70 at night. David Grinspoon is a curator of astrobiology at the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. As he sees it, Mars would be warmer if it wasn't a planetary runt.
When I grab coffee on a cold morning, I know that a small espresso is going to cool off quickly, whereas a larger coffee is going to stay warm much longer. Large objects stay warm longer because their interiors are shielded from the outside where the cooling occurs. And planets are exactly the same way. A small planet will cool off early in its history. A larger planet like Earth will stay warm for billions of years, which makes it a better place probably to look for life.
Despite Mars's drawbacks, it has always fascinated scientists because its terrain seemed to give evidence that it might support life. Its dynamic landscape of mountains, volcanoes, and deep ravines is not unlike our Earth. To early astronomers, these features look like oceans and rivers, and even a system of canals, supposedly not just supporting life, but actually produced by it.
Percival Lowell in the United States observed these things and inferred that, in fact, these things were so straight and so regular in geometry that they had to have been the product of intelligent life. Okay? Well, he was right. The problem was the life was at the wrong end of the telescope. In viewing this thing visually through a telescope eyepiece, the human eye-brain combination started to connect things that weren't really there.
Lowell was not alone. Some scientists were shocked when the probe, Viking 1, beamed back this image. Is that a human face? Perhaps produced by Martians in their own likeness? Until recently, we've never really known where to look in our solar system for extraterrestrial life. But we've always known what the aliens would be like once we found them.
Consciousness. I was on a table.
Usually, there is more than a hint of the Earthling in our aliens. Hostile or lovable, they tend to resemble mutant images of ourselves. As a senior astronomer at the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence Institute in California, Seth Shostak has spent his career listening for the radio waves of a distant alien society.
There's no reason to assume that they're going to look like us or even think like us or behave like us or have language. You know, you just have to look at the variety of life on Earth and you see that, you know, nature can come up with lots of different forms.
But if there is life on Mars, how could it survive in such extreme conditions? Since the 1960s, scientists have sent dozens of probes to the Red Planet. The first pictures of the barren landscape quickly dashed any hope of finding intelligent beings. But what scientists did see startled them. Though there's no evidence of Martian-made canals, there are signs that Mars actually may have had water. Some think the angry red planet might once have been blue.
You just have to look back a couple of billion years, 3.5 billion, 4 billion years ago. Mars had a thicker atmosphere, had water on its surface clearly. Maybe it developed life. And as it slowly went bad, you know, the life had to adapt.
Life may have adapted, not died off, because some liquid water may still exist underground. But with no surface water, frigid temperatures, and ultra-thin atmosphere, Mars is a planet only one kind of creature could love, an extremophile. Extremophiles thrive in the cruelest of places. To see where they might lurk on Mars, we head to the Valles Marineris, a massive rift in Mars's surface, 20 times wider than the Grand Canyon in places, and almost as deep as Mount Everest is tall. Lakes may have once flooded this valley, and those lakes could have hosted life. As the water dried up, life could have evolved to cope with the harsher environment. We won't know what these extremophiles are like until we find them. But they may resemble creatures that exist in extreme places right here on Earth. An unusual team of biologists, called astrobiologists, study Earth for the kinds of life we may find in outer space. Astrobiologist Rocco Mancinelli is on the hunt for Mars's extremophiles.
If it went beneath the surface, and some of it undoubtedly did, then what happened to it? Well, it formed brine pockets. So what kind of organism can live in a salty brine? A salt-loving organism.
Astrobiologist Chris McKay thinks he knows the kind of salt-loving creatures that might survive on Mars. Creatures much like those he's found in one of the driest, saltiest places on Earth.
The fundamental challenge to life on Mars is, in a sense, the fundamental challenge of life here in Death Valley. It's dryness. That is the hardest thing for life to adapt to.
Thousands of years ago, a salty lake covered Death Valley, just as lakes filled Mars's Mariner Trench.
Move in closer. This is still wet, a little wet.
This appears like a lifeless place, a big, flat, white, empty horizon. But yet, just below the surface, we find layers of algae and bacteria growing. They're living in an environment that in many ways is fundamentally different from the environment that we sense on the surface. Here you're in a place which looks lifeless, looks dead, and yet you dig down and hidden underneath, there it is.
Beneath the salt is a layer of hardy green algae that survive on the water and light that trickle through. The algae in turn feeds salt-loving microorganisms.
Here in deserts on Earth, dried, salty lake beds, we're going to find them on Mars as well.
Salty deserts are not the only places life might be hiding on the red planet. There are Mars's tremendous volcanoes, some of them 6 times larger than those on Earth. Astrobiologist Penny Boston studies the caves, called lava tubes, left over after volcanic lava has dissipated. Not long ago, we assumed caves like these were devoid of life. They get no sunlight, and no sunlight means no photosynthesis. But in lava tubes outside Albuquerque, New Mexico, Boston has found evidence of extreme life.
Because we know Mars has many, many lava tubes. And so here we have the opportunity to see how these formed and also to look at the life that inhabits them.
The extremophiles Boston has found appear to be thriving. They get their energy by feeding on the minerals in the cave wall.
So here we're up close to the wall, and you can see these white patches here growing against the black basalt. And each one of these is like a major city for these little guys. They're all nestled in these little pockets in the basalt. And so these guys are permanently adapted to these freezing temperatures. They never see any light, and they get what they can find in the environment.
Are there creatures like these in the caves below Mars's volcano fields? Boston thinks so.
We are going to find life, and I just hope that I live a long and healthy life so that I can still be around to see that.
We may already have had our first glimpse of Martians, not from our visit to their planet, but from their visit to ours. 16 million years ago, an asteroid slammed into Mars and propelled a 2-kilogram rock into space. Amazingly, that rock sailed to Earth and came to rest in Antarctica. Inside, NASA scientist David McKay and Everett Gibson were amazed to spot the outlines of fossils. Water has carved small tunnels in the rock. And in these tunnels, McKay and Gibson found what they believed to be evidence of bacterial life.
These are little microbes, and they're dead, and they're fossils, or in some cases, we don't even see the forms. We see the footprints or the evidence that they were there.
Life from Mars? Maybe. The hunt is only just beginning. NASA plans to send a rover called Phoenix to Mars. It will study the planet's ice cap and probe 3 feet beneath the surface. NASA even has a plan to send human visitors. They may not meet the little green men of our imaginations, but they could encounter life in some form. What will it look like? It is likely to be a subterranean dweller with an ability to survive on little water. Perhaps an organism with a taste for minerals, like the creatures in the lava tubes of New Mexico. Even the smallest find would have enormous implications. Proof that life is not unique to Earth, but exists just next door. Our safari to the places in our solar system likely to harbor alien life now takes us past the asteroid belt on the far side of Mars. Here, Jupiter reigns. But this planet, the largest in our solar system, is fairly hostile to life, thanks to its toxic gases and overpowering gravity.
Not only is it pretty cold out at Jupiter, it's also, it's got this really thick atmosphere, tens of thousands of miles thick, and it's got ammonia and methane and, things used to clean the bathroom. But Jupiter has more than 60 moons that we know about.
At first glance, those moons would seem unlikely places to seek alien life. Their atmospheres are thin, and they are inhumanly cold. The temperature on Callisto is lower than -200 degrees Celsius. The scientific probes Voyager and Galileo have detected little on the surface of these moons but ice, with one dramatic exception. Io is one of the closest moons to Jupiter. When NASA sent Voyager 1 to Io in 1979, astronomers were astonished to find its surface roiling with giant volcanoes.
Io is the most volcanically active place in the solar system, just spewing volcanic material from its surface all the time.
What could be heating the interior of this frigid moon? Amazingly, it's the force of gravity from Jupiter. The giant planet exerts enormous gravitational pull on its moons. The closer the moon, the stronger the force. So strong, it can actually stretch their crusts. But some of these moons have elliptical orbits, so as they near Jupiter, the crust stretches towards it. When they move further away, the crust relaxes back towards spherical. This constant tidal movement creates friction deep inside, and that friction generates heat. It's like rubbing two sticks together to start a fire. The pull of Jupiter is heating Io from the inside out. Volcanic fumes and lack of water make Io inhospitable to life. But Jupiter's other large moons are more distant, close enough for Jupiter's gravity to warm them from within, but distant enough to remain calm on the surface. 3 of them look particularly promising as possible homes for alien life. The one furthest from the giant planet, Callisto. On its surface, Callisto looks like our moon, scarred and cratered by countless hits from asteroids. Those impacts may have melted the surface ice for brief periods, allowing life to take hold. But in 1998, the Galileo spacecraft detected a much more promising incubator deep beneath Callisto's surface. Radioactive rocks and tremendous pressure in its core generate heat inside Callisto. The heat may be melting its icy crust from below, creating a hidden ocean. And hidden oceans could mean hidden life. As we fly closer to Jupiter, we find its largest moon, Ganymede. Ganymede is also deeply scarred. Ridges rise above its surface. Those bright spots are craters as big as 5 kilometers across and likely to be lined with frost. But these photos offer the most compelling clues to where life here might hide. They show flowing glaciers, glaciers that resemble those on Earth. Ganymede's moving glaciers could also be signs of heat within. So, like Callisto, Ganymede could also have a hidden ocean, buried beneath as much as 190 kilometers of ice. The third moon on this leg of our alien safari is the most intriguing. It is called Europa, and of the 3, it resides closest to Jupiter. That proximity to the giant planet means Europa's core may be very hot, far hotter than Callisto's or Ganymede's. But its surface remains frigid, a potent combination for life, since there could be a temperate zone where they meet. Mammoth fissures scar Europa's thick crust of ice, a sign that ice is always shifting. On our own planet, we see the same cracks in the ice sheets covering the Arctic Ocean. Europa's crust may be riding the largest ocean in the solar system, an ocean twice as large as all of Earth's put together.
Now, those oceans, if they're there, and the chances are pretty good that at least some of them are, they've been sitting around for a long time, 4 billion years, a little longer, right? In 4 billion years, an ocean of water, do you think anything might have cooked up there? Well, it certainly seems plausible.
the environment in Europa's ocean is more or less as nice as the environment in our own ocean, as a place for living things to exist. Heck, things from planet Earth could probably live in the European Ocean.
But Europa's oceans will be very cold, even slushy. And sunlight never penetrates them, thanks to an icy cover that may be 16 kilometers thick. We might never have thought life could exist here if not for a revolutionary discovery off the coast of Ecuador. Deep in the Pacific, biologists have found flourishing communities of tube worms, crabs, and even squid. These creatures are thriving despite complete darkness, extreme cold, and the pressure of the deep ocean. They feed on bacteria that take their energy not from the sun, but from chemicals erupting from the sea floor. We might find very similar volcanic vents on Europa, supporting their own web of life. To find out, NASA scientists would like to put a lander on the European surface. Some would like to send a cryobot, a robot that would melt the ice and release a probe into the liquid below.
That's not so hard to do. You just have to melt your way through. But you're going to have to melt your way through not a couple hundred feet, but maybe a dozen miles of ice. And send down a fishing line with maybe a video camera and a light bulb on it and look around.
In all that water, we can't rule out the possibility that very simple life forms have evolved further. We might even find creatures as advanced as some here at home. Most likely, however, we would find microbes. But even that would be a sea change in how we view the birth and growth of life. Europa was warm. What if the place is one of the coldest known? Or if its lakes flow with toxic chemicals instead of water? These are the worlds we find as our safari continues even deeper into space. As our safari in search of alien life sweeps by the ringed planet, Saturn, we can see the violently swirling gases that choke its atmosphere. We can also feel Saturn's gravity, weaker than Jupiter's, but still formidable. We'll keep moving. We're not likely to find living things here. Saturn's rings are also extremely inhospitable. They're made of rock and ice, as small as a grain of sugar or as big as a house. But Saturn has many moons, 56 that we've spotted so far. Our safari heads first to one of those moons, a tiny frigid satellite called Enceladus, just 500 kilometers in diameter. Here, gravity is very weak, a fraction of that on Earth. And Enceladus has hardly any atmosphere. It reflects back into space almost all the sunlight that hits it, making it the shiniest object in our solar system. Until very recently, we also thought Enceladus was too cold to support life. It appears we were wrong. In 2005, after a 7-year journey, the Cassini spacecraft approached the tiny moon and detected something that stunned the mission's principal investigator, Caroline Porco.
So this was the picture that just, grabbed us. Just was shocking.
Those are plumes made of water from a geyser. The geyser's steam and hot water hit the cold vacuum of space and explode into a jet of ice. With little gravity to rein it in, the ice cloud can grow as big as Enceladus itself. Porco has never seen anything like it anywhere else.
It's like a planetary explorer's dream to come upon a body like Enceladus. Those jets, those fountains, if you will, just spewing vapor and icy snow hundreds of kilometers above the south pole of Enceladus.
There's only one conclusion. tiny, frigid Enceladus is piping hot within. Like Jupiter, Saturn's giant gravitational field tugs on its satellites, creating friction and heat within.
As far as we can tell now, it seems like an inescapable conclusion that there may be liquid water deeper down on Enceladus because it's warm. And the best models we can put forth right now to even explain the warmth, much less the jets, seem to indicate that you would get temperatures warm enough to melt water.
Heat, liquid water, even the furthest reaches of our solar system may contain the chemistry for life. What kind of creature could live in the steamy waters of a geyser? Thanks to hot springs back on Earth, we have some idea. At one point, we assumed nothing lived in the steam-driven fountains of Yellowstone National Park. But then, biologists discovered microbes in these waters. Microbes that feed on chemicals dissolved in the water. Today, we call them thermophiles. The hardiest can thrive in boiling water. Could there be thermophiles on Enceladus? To find out, our safari takes us in for a close-up of this extraterrestrial Old Faithful. It's too cold for anything to live near the surface, but temperatures there are minus 165 degrees Celsius. But what about the hot water inside? In the ice plume above Enceladus, Cassini's probes have found carbon dioxide and methane, chemicals that could feed life below. Just as the chemical-laden springs of Yellowstone feed microbes living there.
We have a body that very, very likely has liquid water in its interior, has shown us already it's got simple organic compounds, and you know, a whole host of things that make it, I think, a major body of astrobiological interest in our solar system.
If Enceladus has been a shock, astronomers have been astounded by another of Saturn's moons, Titan. It may be the unlikeliest to harbor life. Titan gets only a limited amount of sunlight, about 1,000th as much as Earth. Probes sent to Titan have detected ice, but no liquid water. And at temperatures of minus 138 degrees Celsius, that ice is hard as stone. What could possibly make Titan a promising environment for alien life? Remarkably, Titan in many ways resembles the Earth, but not the one we know now.
Titan has turned out to be the body fantastic in the Saturn system, which is long suspected of having an environment at the surface, not only similar to the kind of environment we find here on Earth, even, believe it or not, similar to the kind of environment we had on Earth before the emergence of life.
Titan intrigued Carolyn Porco's team so much, they directed the Cassini spacecraft to send a probe there in 2005. It was the most distant surface mission ever conducted. The probe saw just ridges and plains. But a later flyover by Cassini spotted a shoreline. Soon, thousands of lakes came into view, at least one bigger than the Great Lakes of North America. It's the first time we've ever detected liquid on the surface of another celestial body.
Kind of looks like Minnesota, except the lakes are not water. They're liquid natural gas. But liquid natural gas is a liquid.
And that's not snow. Those are methane flakes. Like Earth, Titan has weather. But it's of a rather psychedelic kind. There are even methane hurricanes.
It's not water, it's methane, doing all the exact same things. Raining, evaporating, flowing in rivers. So you have something that is basically doing what water does on Earth. On Titan, only it's methane.
A similar scene may have existed on Earth 4 billion years ago. making scientists suspect that Titan could also be an incubator for life.
Chemistry does go on. At those cold temperatures, it's really slow. But Titan has had 4 billion years in which to do some chemistry, and maybe in that period of time, maybe something is cooked up.
It would have to cook up without liquid water, something we've never seen before. But scientists aren't ruling it out. The substitute could be the methane so abundant on Titan. Used for fuel on Earth, methane was long thought poisonous to all life. But in 1997, researchers examined mounds of methane ice in the Gulf of Mexico, and they were astonished to find colonies of small centipede-like worms thriving amid the frozen substance. They think the worms may eat bacteria that feed on the methane.
In general, things that we think of as deadly, many of them are potentially lively. If you can figure out an evolutionary way to tap into that energy rather than having it destroy you, then it can be bountiful.
There could be one more complication for life on the surface of Titan. With only a weak magnetic field to shield it, living things on the surface could be exposed to cosmic radiation. But that might not be a problem for an extremophile, as we found here on Earth. Biologists have uncovered plenty of life near Chernobyl's contaminated nuclear reactor, and even swimming in toxic radioactive spills, actually feeding off the decaying molecules. It's possible Titan's life forms could do the same. To find life on Titan, we may have to dive into its methane lakes, where we might find chemical-loving bacteria. We may even find microbes resistant to radiation, not unlike those here on Earth at Chernobyl, living on its rock-hard ice sheets. Organisms that eat methane might give off heat, melting the ice, possibly creating another fountain for life. There's no doubt, life on Titan would be a strange brew. But we have yet to visit the most bizarre world where scientists believe life could exist, and it's much closer to home. Our safari of the world's most likely to harbor alien life has taken us far. We've visited frigid deserts, submerged oceans, and methane lakes. But the world we are about to visit may be the most extreme of all. For our final stop, we are turning back toward Earth, to Venus, our closest planetary neighbor in the solar system. If life can survive here, it seems it could exist almost everywhere. To reach the surface of Venus, we have to fly through a dense layer of yellow clouds, 64 kilometers deep, with a composition similar to battery acid. The atmosphere here is 90 times heavier than Earth's, too heavy for a human to tolerate. On the ground, there are extinct volcanoes and lava flows as far as the eye can see. They cover 85% of the planet's surface. It is hard to believe Venus once had vast oceans.
You basically had a runaway greenhouse effect, where as it starts to get warmer, the oceans start to evaporate, and then that puts water vapor in the air. Well, water vapor is a potent greenhouse gas, so that's what leads to the runaway. The oceans basically boil.
When I began to gather myself together, I had met by this time other people who had had similar experiences. I began to ask myself, what did they want from me? I speculated about whether or not what seemed like a psychic attack could have been warnings. I have remembered more and more not only the vision of the apocalypse, but other warnings and consistent warnings, not only to me, but across the whole community of people who have had this experience. A lot of them get the same warnings, that we're in trouble, that our environment is in trouble. So I'm not alone in that. And that has become really a central feature of my current life. In March of 1986, I had what was a seminal moment of change for me in this experience.
Oh, God.
After it became clear to them that I was trying to engage with them, they began to respond in various ways. It was the most extraordinary experience I've ever had.
I remember seeing a bright blue light come under the door. I said, okay, let's do it. I just want to get to the bottom of this. I had no idea what I was in for.
In March of 1986, I had what was a seminal moment of change for me in this experience. The sensation I felt when I tried to move on that night was like I was being impeded by something that really slowed you down, like
third phase of moon.
Third phase of moon. That's right. Keep your eyes on the sky, everybody. We're not alone. Blake Hudson's here, taking your calls from around the world. The number to call in, share your UFO sightings right now, live, 347-934-0378. We're taking your calls in regards to anything alien-related, UFOs. Have you been abducted? Do you have an opinion about what you saw on Third Phase Moon? We put up some incredible, incredibly insane videos just in the past couple days. The one that impressed me the most was this underwater Google imagery that came off right off Google Earth. No joke, people. Don't know what it is? I suggest everybody take a look at the breaking news video we put up on Third Phase of Moon. Mega ancient alien metropolis discovered. We're not exactly sure what it is, but we think the world needs to know what's going down just off Iceland. You know, this is another underwater base discovered, in my opinion. Malibu has its famous one off the Malibu coast. And now Third Phase of Moon shares again new footage right off Iceland. I think his name was Mr. Leaks that put this video, Jasper Leak. We got to thank Jasper for doing his research over there. That's what it's all about. Everybody out there, 250,000 subscribers approaching, 140 million views, Third Phase of Moon. It's a powerhouse of information that comes in every day. It's you guys out there that make Third Phase of Moon happen, sharing your stories, sharing your videos to the world via right here. Thanks, everybody. We do it for you. Don't forget that. You that believe that we're not alone in the universe. Thank you again, people, for support right here at Third Phase of Moon and sharing your videos. Now, let's get to some callers. I think we got the Truth online. We're going to be getting to the Truth. He's a returning caller. I think he's got some new information. And we got Dr. J. Andy Elias just back from Contact in the Desert, Joshua Tree. We put up a little interview he did with Linda Moulton-Howell over there. He's going to give us some insight of what he thinks is going off Iceland. I just shared him this incredible video that we posted, and he's going to introduce us to the Truth. Let's get to Dr. J right now. Dr. J, you there?
You know, I got to say, that Iceland video is so fantastic because that is so much more proof again that is just available to the public that cannot be denied. What are those darn artificial structures there? Is it man-made? But if it is man-made, is that a military base that we don't know about? Or is it extraterrestrials? I think that is super fantastic. And yes, you mentioned Contact in the Desert. That just did happen. And, of course, Linda Moulton-Howell and so many other people were there.
Wow, you know, that was amazing, that Contact in the Desert, all what goes down, everybody goes out there and sees what's going down, talk to the top ufologists in the world. But I wanted to get your opinion on this new breaking news thing that just happened over there in Iceland. Does it look like the Nazca lines to me? It almost looks like that hummingbird. They call it the hummingbird emblem off the Nazca lines. Or am I seeing things? What do you think?
No. It's actually really funny that you said that, because when just the first initial look at it, I was like, wow, this looks like blue under Nazca lines, until I realized it was underwater. I'm talking about first glance, not reading it, and that was really, really, really cool because not only do you see obviously various shapes and art, obviously things that it just doesn't look like nature can create in such a perfect way. And then what also looks similar is that triangular area in Nazca, and also, of course, what they just called the straight Nazca lines, which some speculate was runways, others say it resembles runways. There's the debate among that. But absolutely, Blake, you're dead on with what it looks like, and so much more.
I don't think this is a simple pareidolia effect going on by any means. This is something that seems so artificial, nothing natural about it. This seems like there's crossroads going on. Some people say that, hey, well, these are just scrapes of icebergs leaving their trails behind. But do icebergs square in 100% square?
No.
Do they take 90-degree angles and create roads and patterns that look like imagery known to man for thousands of years via the Nazca? That's why we leave it up to the third phase immune viewers to decide, right, John?
Hey, I'm so glad you mentioned that, but at the same time, see, it can't. Okay, yes, you could look at it, and a skeptic will obviously say, yes, this looks like it's dragged from ice, but yes, only an area of it looks like that. What about when you get to other areas where it's turning and getting bigger, and it's just so symmetrical that you just can't? It has to be made. It has to have been made. Nature does not create this. If you want to see some things what nature creates, look at mountains. Look at the Grand Canyon, and any other canyon for that matter. I mean, they're all ragged and jagged, and nothing is really straight. Yes, you see straight sedimentary lines, but this is not what you see at the bottom of this ocean near Iceland. I mean, this is, again, something that had to have been created by some artificial means, whether it be humans or something else.
I think that absolutely, you nailed it right on the head as well, Dr. J, is that this is just so out of the ordinary, and the shape and formations are so unnatural. Even so, it's just not one area. You remember the Malibu off the Malibu coast? It was just that one base in that general area, maybe about 2 or 3 mile area of this coverage. But this is covering at least 20 to 30 miles in a general area of multiple different formations. Some people say this could be the missing Atlantis. That's what we're saying, that Atlantis is discovered possibly right now. And then other people just say, like Flip It For You, he says it could be Google. It could be Google messing with us. He's saying, really, though, just think if you worked in that department and you could throw stuff up for fun, I don't think Google's playing jokes like that, but you never know.
That. Thank you for saying that, because, okay, if they're going to play a prank, you're going to see something in the peace sign or in some sort of symbol that's obviously known to humans that people look at it and be like, ha ha, that's cool, I recognize it. Not something that you're going to speculate is, E.T. I don't think anyone would think that. I mean, honestly, if you wanted to play a prank, wouldn't you want to make it to where people see it and laugh, not look at it and be like, whoa, what is that? It doesn't really make that sort of sense. I mean, I guess people hoax UFO videos for the same reason, so you could potentially say that, but then you're talking about Google. I mean, it's a huge multi-billion-dollar corporation, teams of lawyers working there. Absolutely precise. They send cars around the nation with cameras to map everything out. There is no way something like this would go overlooked by that department without punishing the person and correcting it right away. And unless you see that correction made in the next 72 hours max, after you're talking about this on the show and it's up on Third Phase of the Moon with thousands, tens of thousands of views, there's no way in hell that it's going to be some sort of trick by anyone at Google, because obviously it would change.
Absolutely right, and I suggest everybody take a look at this video and do your own research. That's how we had to confirm that this is the real deal. When I first saw this video, I was thinking, well, maybe this could be some kind of elaborate hoax in a sense. So we did our homework, and I wanted to make sure Google Maps is, projecting the same thing that I was seeing from this video, and bingo, and there it was. Some people, we're getting a comment. Haley Gattardo says that these lines are basically, let me see what he says. He says, those lines are caused by sonar mapping from ships. They're more clear because of sonar, and the other areas are blurry. They're not formations, but they are digital.
Well, you know what? I love that's the whole purpose of putting everything out there for the public to decide, because you're going to hear both sides, people that take strong positions, then people that analyze it scientifically and technically, and this is what needs to be done, and this is exactly why. It's just like Bob Lazar. It is such crap that military or ET technology is stuck in military hands, because it should be investigated by the world. And you know what? If that's reason and he could provide proof, you know what? I will happily concede. And this is, just by looking at it, my interpretation is it has to be artificial. But if you have facts to back it up, and obviously it sounds like he's making a great argument, I'd love to see the rest of it. Again, like I said, I will concede to it. But this is why Third Phase of the Moon is doing what its job is in putting it for the public to decide.
John, it's absolutely, that's what it's all about here. And we want to thank Haley. She's a girl from Illinois, and she's 22, and hey, Haley, we always like people's opinions, and that's we might find out later that's not what it is, but we're not around here at Third Phase of the Moon to go into in-depth investigations on every single UFO video and information that comes in. It's just too massive. We have to get it out with everybody watching it. I think that's how the truth is told immediately, and it can't be suppressed when it's out on Third Phase. It gets out too fast. Speaking of suppression, is our movie. We made this movie, Hangar 52, We're Not Alone, and it's based on a lot of information that was coming into Third Phase of the Moon. We had a lot of fun making the movie. That's what it's all about. It's not perfect. Hey, it's not my acting. I'm not trying to win an Academy Award over here, people. I'm not an actor. I'm just Blake Cousins right here at Third Phase of the Moon taking reports, but it was a lot of fun to, be on the camera as an actor. And it's a shoestring budget, but we're putting out our last episode here in the next day, Hangar 52, the finale. And I wanted to get Dr. J's opinion of Hangar 52 and what went into it. I know you helped on some of the information that was coming in, and actually transporting EB, the alien, from Los Angeles to get it here on Hawaii on location while we shot this thing.
That's absolutely right. Not just transporting him, but actually facilitating the arrival of him by finding him and getting in touch with the guys who made it, which are amazing guys. Some resin company, I forget the name of it. But yes, EBE is great, and I hope everybody out there enjoys the final episode, because this is when a lot of people, from what I recall, became very emotional to see. I don't want to spoil what happens, but people get emotional at this last part. And considering you were keeping on top of Third Phase of the Moon and running that whole production on your own budget with no super high amount of money, and just literally making it for fun, I think it's pretty cool for just a project to not just make for yourself, but something that people can be out and enjoy. And you know what? You actually, by making that, can inspire other small filmmakers to go out and do the same. And you could throw the word out for people out there, if they want to come out for your next movie, they'll fly out to Hawaii and be in it.
Or if they want to share and make a movie in regards to the UFO phenomenon based on facts, and if it's entertaining, hey, we'll premiere it right here in Third Phase of the Moon and share your movie to the world if, we think it's right for the people in Third Phase of the Moon. We're always out here for contact and open for, documentaries and movies right here at Third Phase of the Moon. And also, I wanted to say, you're going to be the assistant, the direct assistant producer to Art Bell. And I wanted Art Bell's opinion, or maybe you could share that video off Iceland and see what he thinks when he returns on air. When is that again, John?
July 20th, and you know what? Everything's looking so good. His studio's built. He's so happy and excited. I speak to him almost on a daily basis to talk about things. I'm already weeks into his booking. Everyone's going to have an amazing time with his show and guests. He's doing open lines just like this so people have a chance. And you know what? The funny part is it'll be literally probably on nights like this when this show ends, so they could literally finish this and call into Art Bell as an open line and talk about their continuation of the stories. So that's going on. Art Bell's back, and people can hear him at the next Ciro event, which is going to be held in Los Angeles. You can go to CeroInternational.com, C-E-R-O. I'm actually going to be speaking there as well. Art Bell's going to be making an appearance via Skype. There will also be L.A. Marzulli and Rick Shaw talking about the latest Watchers film, showing slides and photographs they took of mummies they were able to examine in Peru that had strange, giant skulls that just did not belong. So that's going to be an exciting event. And, of course, like I said, Art Bell's back July 20th, and everyone's ready to go. It's on darkmatterradionetwork.net. Or Dark
Absolutely.
Matter, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I heard a sneak peek of Art Bell. It sounds great, and the studio sounds great. I look forward to hearing that and go directly to it right after Third Phase Moon Radio every Friday night. And that's going to be amazing. Now, hey, thanks, Dr. J. I know you're real busy. You got to go, but please introduce us to our next guest. He goes by the Truth.
Exactly. And before I go, I'd like to just mention people who are able to see hear some shows. But first, let me introduce our guest. He's been bringing some footage to Third Phase of the Moon, and he's gotten a whole lot more. And I know he's got some stories to tell. And he's a real cool cat. He's got a head on his shoulders. You know, he grew up in some hard times in the hood, and he could even talk about some UFO sightings happening in the hood. And he goes by the UFO Truth. You know, I believe Maryland.
Maryland?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Let's bring him on. I mean, let's confirm from him.
All right, hey,
Baltimore, Maryland.
Well, hey, Baltimore.
That's right, Baltimore in the house.
How y'all doing? All the way from Baltimore. Welcome to Third Phase. Go ahead, Truth. What do you some new information, new videos, some new UFO encounters? What's going on?
Yeah, Doc. It's a lot going on, Doc. You know, it's a lot going on. I've sent you a couple photographs of some footage that I've been taking, and I've never stopped taking footage since I called in and spoke with you guys last year about, you know, the experiences that I've actually been having personally. And they've actually been increasing, and my information has been increasing as well. And I have all of this, you know, pretty much on film, and I would love for you guys to check it out because it's over. It's over. I mean, it's no questions to be asked no more in reference to this, okay? If you guys take a look at what's really going on, take a look at the news, you see a lot of violence going down, you know, in Baltimore, Chicago, Jersey. I'm thinking that this is all in relation to what I'm getting on film. And what I'm getting on film appears to me to be nothing but the truth. They here, they on the ground, and that's just it. And I can prove this. And I'm now ready to submit my evidence to the scientists to have them take a look at it. And then they let me know, you know, if I'm wrong or if I'm right about what I'm saying, because this is my opinion. But my opinion is to be expressed to the people, because I want the people to see this, so we can get the people's opinion. And then if the people pretty much figure that what I'm saying is true, then I think we pretty much got to go with what the people say and with what I'm saying, and it's time to take this to the next level.
Absolutely. What are you capturing? What do you want to submit to the scientists? How are we going to take a look at this, the truth? What's going on between?
Oh, my phone is in better condition now, so I can actually I can Gmail you guys the information before before we decide to let the scientists take a look at this. But I've showed this to a lot of my family, a lot of my friends. They all agree with me. They see exactly what I'm seeing, and it's a way that you have to go about finding it, though, because it's not just there. It's not like these beings are just. Some of them come out in the open, and some of them are hiding, and it's hard to see. But they there, and I guarantee you they there. And they've been there, I can guarantee you, for at least the last 3 years. I just wasn't able to get my information out to you guys. I want to apologize, first and foremost, for missing contact in the desert. It's one of you guys' biggest premieres, and I'm sorry for missing that. I wasn't able to get my round-trip tickets until around 12 o'clock Monday afternoon. So, you know, I want to apologize for that. But I do still have my tickets. I do still have the information right here in my hand. So I have a few videos, but I have lots and lots of photographs. Nighttime, daytime. I mean, I have UFOs that's hovering 10 feet off the ground, you know, in broad daylight. So, you know, if go ahead, son.
I want to stop you real quick, and we'll get back to it, but we're getting some comments on your evidence that you're about to share, and we look forward to hopefully sharing it to the world. But some people are warning you, don't share it to anybody but Third Phase Moon, because there's people out there that'll just rip your stuff off and not give you credit. That's what we do at Third Phase Moon. We give you credit so everybody knows that when something's posted, for the most part, they're going to know where directly it came from, if that's what the people submit their videos choose. And then also, don't give it to MUFON, man. MUFON is infiltrated. I don't think they're doing their job. And they don't get back to anybody trying to let the people decide. Dr. J, any questions for the truther?
Actually, I'm so glad you brought that up. Before I go, let me talk about the show. But I'm so glad you mentioned MUFON. First of all, ever since Bigelow gave money to them, people say it was corrupt, and I actually have investigators, friends that have been doing this or members, MUFON investigators for 25 years that finally said, you know what, this organization is getting corrupt. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm good friends with the national director, and he's a legitimate guy, but things ever since Robert Bigelow invested in MUFON to take a look at all their files, things sort of went down. And the reason why I'm mentioning this background is because the truth actually brought the evidence to MUFON, and he'll tell you the response. And I'm glad you mentioned that he needs to get it to you, because you'll be able to disseminate the information quicker than anybody else for the world to decide. Go ahead, the truth. Tell the world what happened when you brought your stuff and told your story to MUFON. What did they do to you?
Okay, well, I'm not going to mention any names because I follow the code. That's first and foremost. I am from West Baltimore, so the code come first. But what happened was, once I was finally able to get in contact with the head of MUFON here in Baltimore, he hesitated on me coming out to show him my evidence. I don't quite understand why, but he did hesitate on doing that. Now, the first gentleman that I got in contact with was in Berlin, Maryland. Okay, now I sent him one photograph of what I had, and he called me back, and he was like, what is this? And I was like, well, you know, that's one of the photographs that I took in my neighborhood. You know, you can see right there that the alien being is right there, like 10 feet away from me. You can see it as clear as day. It's in broad daylight. So he was like, well, how far away, you know, were you when you took this photograph? I said, I was maybe about 10 or 15 feet away from it. And he hung up. And I was never able to get back in contact with him again. Now, when I was able to get in contact with the head of MUFON in Baltimore, Maryland, and one of the counties, I'm not going to mention exactly what county, but in one of the counties here, we finally, you know, were able to link up. And I showed them just one of my photographs. And it was one of my very best ones, one of the first ones that I took back in 2012 when I had the tremendous encounter. Oh, my God. But anyway, I showed him the photograph, and he took a look at it, and he said it was interesting, and he said that he would send someone out. Now, if you guys remember, the last time I spoke with you guys was about a year ago. It was about the abductions in Maryland and Texas. It was a very good show. I think we're up to about 80,000 views so far. Guys, keep checking that out. That's all real. Check it out. But anyway, I explained to you guys that the head of MUFON sent an investigator to my home. Okay, and I told you I felt bad about this once I realized who he was when he got in my house. But so the gentleman finally called me back, who he hooked me up with, said that he would be out in about 4 or 5 hours. So I waited. The first day he didn't show up. So the second day, I called the head guy from MUFON back and let him know that the gentleman hadn't showed up yet. So he said, okay, he would get right on it. Emailed him or whatever, and finally the guy did show up the next day. So anyway, when he showed up, you know, I let him in and everything like that. And once he got in my house, he let me know that he was with the Pentagon. Now, I was under the impression that the Pentagon and MUFON was on two opposite sides of the street. You know, like, to give you guys perspective, you may be able to relate to, like, two different, you know, fashions of groups. You know, they on this side and we on that side. MUFON is supposed to be trying to prove that this is real and what they have may be legitimate, and most of the time the government is trying to prove that it's not. So it's kind of like it's contradictory, you know. So that's hard to kind of go with. Anything that's contradictory is hard to take seriously. So anyway, when I realized that where he was from, like I said, it shook me up a little bit because I brought him into my home. My wife, my kids, you know, they all lay in my home, and I know how they are about this type of information. So he seemed like a pretty cool guy. I sat down with him. I let him know when my experiences started, how old I was, and things like that. And then I told him to make sure that I stay anonymous as well. So we proceeded to go outside where I had the experience around 5:30 p.m. on May the 19th, 2012, in broad daylight, when I actually viewed 3 UFOs within about an hour time. And I showed him everything, you know, from the time when the UFO came out the back part of the woods, came right down to where I was at. The problem was I didn't have my cell phone on me when I first saw it. But the unbelievable part was I was able to run in the house, grab my cell phone off the charger, which had only been on the charger for about maybe, I guess, about 10 or 15 minutes. And when I ran back out, the UFO was still there. So whatever reason it was, it came down to me. It wanted me to get it on film. And I'm saying that because it seems like to me, as much as the powers that be try, there's no way that they can keep this from the public. They are going directly to the people now, but they're not going to everyone. They're going to the people with open minds, people with common sense. You know, if you're seeing these things in the air, if you're seeing them landed on the ground, if you're seeing them in the sea, if you're seeing them in space, come on, what's the commonality factor? They're being seen in all these areas is the commonality factor. That's the genius factor of it. That can't be denied. Too many reports, too much denial. Okay? And what I have now can no longer be denied. So, powers to be, get ready. Okay? We got it.
We got it. And the truth, contact Third Phase of the Moon, share it right now. We're standing by, and we're looking forward to looking at what you got. Contact us, cousinsbrothersproductions@gmail.com. That's cousinsbrothersproductions@gmail.com. That's our email address. The truth. Thank you for calling in. We appreciate it. And if anybody, do you have a YouTube channel, The Truth? Do you have a YouTube channel that anybody could follow you at?
I'm actually in the process of getting that set up now. It should be set up within the next day or two.
Okay, The Truth. You let me know when that is. We'll put that in the link when you share us this video footage. We're about to cut out. Show's just about ending. Dr. J, any last words? Go ahead.
Actually, yes, just a few. I want to make it very clear that people can hear top guests on my show, and they could speak to them, and some of those interviews end up on Third Phase, but that's not the way disclosure is going to happen. Yes, people get to hear about important cases and everything, but it's all about everybody out there, such as The Truth, people that are calling into Third Phase of the Moon, people that are sending their videos in, people that are just talking about it and having an open mind. That's how disclosure is going to happen. Everybody out there listening, disclosure is in your hands. It's about you guys. It's not about the top researchers that are a small portion. It's about the majority of the world having an open mind, sharing this information, talking about it, and not suppressing it anymore. Speaking of the top guests, yes, absolutely, people can hear amazing shows. Go to drjradiolive.com. Just some of the next couple guests are David Sarita, and people can actually have a chance to speak to him. And astronaut Story Musgrave will talk about some few things and so much more. Everything is under drjradiolive.com, and that's the name of every social media account as well, from YouTube, Flickr, Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr. But again, disclosure is in your hands, everybody. Keep sending your information to Third Phase of the Moon and tell your stories. That's how we're going to make it happen.
Thank you, Dr. J. Appreciate all you do, and we look forward to all your big interviews. You got the biggest ones in the house, and we're looking forward to Art Bell being back. Dr. J, you take care, man.
You too. And The Truth and everybody else, keep disclosure. Keep it open and keep watching Third Phase of the Moon.
Absolutely. But you couldn't say it better. Keep watching. Have your cameras ready. You never know when this is going down. UFOs is something for everybody. Close encounters. It's ready in your hands. It's going to happen. All you got to do is have an open mind. Sometimes people think that, hey, I've never seen a UFO. I've been waiting all my life to see a UFO. It's never too late. It happens to everybody once in their lifetime, I'd imagine. Blake Cousins, keep your eyes on the skies. Hangar 52, the latest and last episode. We're Not Alone. It's coming soon to Third Phase of Moon. Blake Cousins. We'll see everybody again next week, Friday. 12 a.m. if you're in New York, 9 p.m. if you're in L.A. Friday, every Friday, we're here.
So, the sooner the better.
What's more, we could find these aliens not on distant planets in unexplored galaxies, but right next door in our own solar system. Scientists are now honing in on proof that ET is out there and living on the most hazardous of worlds. Our safari will journey to 7 destinations in our solar system to see just where these creatures could be and what they might look like. These exotic lands are unimaginably harsh. Life as we think of it would perish in an instant. But alien life may be far tougher than we expect, as we're learning from a surprising group of living things right here on Earth. Until just a few decades ago, we were sure our planet was unique. It is the only one we've found so far that has nurtured the evolution of millions of species. Thanks to its abundant sunshine, warm water, and protective atmosphere. We logically concluded that life needed each of those things, a conclusion that ruled out all other known worlds in our solar system. But then, biologists began combing some of the Earth's darkest and coldest places. And to their surprise, they found living, breathing creatures. Biologists call these organisms extremophiles. Some don't need light or oxygen. Others survive in tremendous atmospheric pressure. It seems life can turn up practically anywhere. Take Antarctica. After years of searching this arid, frozen landscape, scientists doubted they'd find anything alive. But in 1999, a team of explorers unearthed a rock from 6 feet under the ice. What they found amazed them. When they cracked the rock open, they found it teeming with tiny creatures. Here, at temperatures of 68 degrees below zero and 6 feet under solid ice, life had found a foothold.
Biologists have been increasingly discovering life, not kangaroos, but, simpler forms of life that live at very cold temperatures, very high temperatures, very great pressures, even in places where there's sort of a high degree of radiation. It turns out life is able to live in a much wider variety of environments on our own planet than we used to think.
And if life can survive extreme conditions, not just here at home, but elsewhere in our solar system, think of what this could mean.
Unless there's something extraordinarily miraculous about our solar system or our planet, then life has got to be extremely